I want you to understand where the ego comes from. Ego is a result of people partaking of the knowledge of good and evil instead of partaking of life. This concept is spoken of in the Bible and maybe other places in literature and in life, I don't know. But again, it's spoken of in the Bible, and I don't know if it's literal or figurative when the Bible talks about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil versus the tree of life. There are a lot of people out there who are literalists when it comes to the Bible, but I honestly don't know. But what I do know is that the concept that it's trying to teach us is exceedingly true. So in life, you can either partake of the knowledge of good and evil as a source of sustenance, tree, but this sustenance being spiritual and mental, or you can partake of life, the tree of life, which is God Himself, spiritually and mentally. And it's very important which one you partake of. When you partake of the knowledge of good and evil as a source of sustenance for your spirit and your soul, it produces ego. When you partake of the source of all life, which is God Himself, it eliminates ego and it erases it. It prevents it in the first place, depending upon at what point in your life you begin partaking of God's life, or it erases it. So it either prevents it if you start earlier, or it erases it and eliminates it if you start later. So you start out in life either on one, life, which is God Himself in Christ, or you start out over here on the knowledge of good and evil, which is life apart from God and apart from Christ. So the one looks like, we'll start with the knowledge of good and evil. That looks like no love, or very little love, and only knowledge that there is good and bad, and only your own limited strength and limited ability to do the good that you think should be done. On the other side is perfect love and God's unlimited strength and ability to be and to do everything that God made you to be and to do. That's the first major difference. The second difference is love. On the tree of life, which is God, you have perfect love, perfect acceptance for who you are. That is the most securing thing in existence. Perfect love and perfect acceptance, which is found in God, makes you perfectly secure. When you're not living on life and you're living on the knowledge of good and evil, there is no inherent love. So, again, you can experience the love of the human beings around you, but there is no inherent love in the knowledge of good and evil as a source of sustenance for your spirit and your soul. So that does not secure you. It causes you to create your own security. It causes you to, in effect, love yourself, which of course is not, when you're partaking of the knowledge of good and evil, as a spiritual and soulish source of sustenance, it's not very good love. But you are compelled to make yourself and to build yourself with your own limited knowledge, limited ability, limited strength, limited goodness. But when you are on life, God Himself through Christ, you have unlimited love and unlimited strength and unlimited ability. Okay, now I'm repeating myself. I apologize. However, when you have that lack of inherent love, I'm not saying that you cannot experience love, because you can. As a human being, we can all experience love of other human beings, no matter which source you're living on. But with no inherent love in the knowledge of good and evil, you have to build yourself up. You have to make yourself strong. You have to get to the best knowledge of what is good that you can come up with, living on the knowledge of good and evil, which is what we see all around us in the world. And you have to be able to do it in your own limited strength and ability, which of course, that goodness that you come up with living on the knowledge of good and evil as a source of spiritual and soulish sustenance is relative. Well, no, that's actually not the right term. It is, it always changes from every person to the next person throughout the whole world, from one nation to another nation, from one political ideology to another political ideology, between human beings in general. This is why you get people who believe this and people who believe this, and they're just... It's because they've partaken so much of that knowledge of what is good and what is bad that they have decided for themselves that arbitrarily, that's the word I was looking for, arbitrarily, decided that this is the good, and they believe it, and they're convinced of it, while other people are convinced of this good over here, and other people are over here, and over here, and over here, and all over the map, which is why people argue, fight, come up with infinite numbers of political ideas, societal ideas, moral ideas, etc., 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 the world over ad infinitum. So what that does, when you have to come up with your own version of what is good, possibly with the help of others around you, I'm not saying we all live isolated lives, and you have to defend it because your identity is wrapped up in it, and who you are is right there, because all you've had to sustain yourself is the knowledge of what is good, in which there is no inherent life or love, hence ego. This is my theory on where the ego comes from. Contrast that to over here on the tree of life, which is God Himself in Christ and through Christ, where there is perfect love for you, perfect acceptance of you, exactly who you are and how you are, perfect strength, perfect ability, the unlimited ability, strength, wisdom, peace, knowledge of the very creator himself, the source of all life himself, and your identity is in that, there's no need for ego. There is absolutely no need for ego in that existence, because you are perfectly loved and accepted for who you are, how you are.